She was right there. And then when Bunker Hill, or Breeds Hill, as we call it, happened, and she went over there along with a bunch of other women. And when people were injured, she would help them. And there was actually a guy that got a bullet in his cheek, and she removed the bullet from his cheek. And a few months later, he came back to visit her. So she was someone that lived in Medford and wasn't that far away from Boston. And then as the war went on, she became a spy. And a lot of the women that were in the homes of the British officers found out information. All right, Thursday night, we're going to be doing this. This week, we're going to be doing that. So she'd be in the homes, and she would actually be part of the spy network. And there were a couple times that she actually rode across the river to give information to George Washington's troops. With secret coding in her clothing or disappearing ink. And the British didn't really worry too much about the women, but she risked her life to really get some information. And then when George Washington became president, he came back to Boston for 5 days in October of 1789, and he actually came to her house in Medford Heights. And now it's called Fulton Heights and Fulton Street and Fulton Spring Road. So there's sections of Medford that are named after her. And he thanked her, President George Washington thanked her for her courage, her fortitude, and her attitude of being calm under pressure, and everything that she did during the war. So there's a website out there called Looking Back at MedfordHistory.com. Looking Back at MedfordHistory.com, that there's a campaign that's going on. We're just wrapping up the final stages of building a statue, a 6-foot-high bronze statue on a 2-foot base that'll be on the city of Medford City Hall grounds, and we're going to be erecting that on Patriots Day in 2026. So Robert Shore, the sculptor that has done a bunch of different things, including the Sigmund Freud statue in Worcester, and the FAO Schwartz teddy bear that you might have seen in front of the Schwartz Toy Company, and now it's in front of the Tufts Medical Center. He's done Ted Williams and Red Auerbach and Joe DiMaggio. He's done tremendous amounts of historical statues as well in museums all over the world. He's completed the process of bronzing this statue of Sarah Bradlee Fulton, and we're here to promote what she did during the war and her effort to make women really recognized among the Abigail Adams and the Martha Washingtons and other women that are from this area that really should be honored. So Looking Back at MedfordHistory.com is a place you can share and help us finish up the final stages of that.
That is absolutely fabulous, Bob, and I thank you for sharing that with us. Now, I think back to many scholarships and awards that I've heard at many local high schools, and I believe that there's a Daughters of the American Revolution scholarship. I would assume that Sarah Bradlee Fulton is recognized by the Daughters of the American Revolution.
She is, and she's recognized by the Boston Tea Party. The first book that was written about her, as Sarah Bradlee aged in the 70s and 80s, and she actually lived to 94 years old, she would be telling stories. And there was a woman that actually wrote a book about her a few years after Sarah passed in I think it was 1825. That talks about her exploits, and she's been mentioned in numerous books. And I've been on LinkedIn over these last few weeks, and especially this week, The American Revolution, a documentary by Ken Burns that's out on PBS, and you'll probably be seeing that throughout this 250th and certainly throughout the future. There's a lot of things that are talked about the women behind the scenes in the American Revolution. So we want to elevate Medford and the contributions of the people in Medford, and Captain Isaac Hall and Governor Brooks and et cetera. But Sarah Bradlee Fulton deserves a statue and deserves more recognition because of what she did and helped form this country to be what it is now.